First of all, Pat Sewall. I've done a few startups here in the Boise Valley. Came here in '89, I think was the. Came here in '89 with Hewlett Packard, and always thought I would end up running companies. And I think I'm on my fourth startup, if I remember correctly right now. Background engineer, University of Iowa, University of California, Davis, Hewlett Packard. You can blame me for laser jets. You can blame me for Adobe PostScript. You can blame me for TrueTech fonts and Microsoft. Did embedded Linux. Some of the original Android code was done by my team at Ridgerun. Raised about $40 million in capital. Current company running right now is Cradlepoint. I founded Cradlepoint 6 or 7 years ago. Employee number one is hiding in the corner over there of Cradlepoint. Raise your hand, Jeffy. I can tell Jeff stories too for a long time. Only for 11. So I don't really have anything particular. What I thought I'd do here, what would you guys like to know? I mean, I've been through 4 companies. I've worked at private companies since forever and ever. What do you guys want to know? Fire away.
What's the most important aspect of forging new technology in the marketplace? When you look at new marketing plans and sort of key drivers, what do you focus on when you're taking a startup and you say, hey, I want to get this in the market?
What people will buy. So, very sales driven. Phil Bradley here, a local guy who did ProClarity, and a few others said, some people have the gift of being able to determine what will build today what people will buy tomorrow. I've been pretty good at that. So the trick is to figure out, what somebody's going to buy next year. And if you can figure out what they're going to buy next year, go build it. At Cradlepoint, I remember I was talking to the Sprint guys, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago. And they said, if you build a small little black box that looked like a disk drive case and had Wi-Fi in it, connected to the USB modem, I'd buy 6,000 of them. Okay, let's go build it. I mean, it was pretty simple. You ask them what they want, and as long as it wasn't illegal or immoral or, way out of touch, I did it. And, listen to your sales team and go build it. I don't overthink that big strategy part. I just don't do it. I just figure out what people sell, hire good salespeople, and when you find the right salespeople, sales happen, and then you try and figure out why the customer bought it. And after they start buying it, you go, well, they bought that, what are they going to buy next? And then go build it. So, again, go ahead.
You've been through 4 startups, 5 startups?
I did Ridgerun, Always On Wireless, Cradlepoint, and now UCEEM. I'm at 4.
So when you look back, what's been the most difficult part of getting that company going? Has it been different with each one, or do you find kind of a consistent pattern in way of bringing yourself to the marketplace and getting going?
That was definitely a beer drinking one. The difficult part of each one. They're all a little bit unique. The first ones, I was really gung-ho, and I can tell you it takes a really strong support team. I mean, I remember the first company, we were up and down and all around. We were going to kill it. It was .com era. And then the planes fly into the towers. I had a $12 million term sheet from a tier 1 VC to fund embedded Linux for all smartphones in the country, Android. Had it all there, and it all flushed in 48 hours. My wife Laura used to say, and still does, she says it's like a sine wave. It's up and down and all around. And the only thing is the period of the sine wave, that sometimes it's a month up and down, and sometimes it's a day, and sometimes it's an hour. It just depends, there's extreme highs and extreme lows. So on the first one was just mitigating the highs and the lows and trying to keep a, kind of a steady, hand on the keel. Second company was with a buddy out of Austin, Always On Wireless. It's the genesis how Cradlepoint got started. Rudy and myself, good friends still. He still owes me a dinner for it. I sold all the stock, founder stock, to him for a dinner. I took Cradlepoint, he took Always On Wireless. And And he believed that the industry wanted V92 modems connected to Wi-Fi, and I thought, cellular 3G, 4G modems connected to Wi-Fi was the trend. We couldn't agree, so we agreed to disagree. He started Always on Wireless. I started Cradlepoint, got Jeff to come to work for me. Now the company's doing, I don't know, 40-some million a year, 100-some employees, just crushing it. Gonna be the next $100 million company in the valley. So they're doing really well. Cradlepoint was the hardest part about Cradlepoint. Rapid growth. That company, I ended up buying a company out of Phoenix. I had an instant company. One day I had this great product idea, and the next day I just bought $6 million in revenue for $50,000. And all of a sudden I had profitable to 43% gross margin. I was like, this is cool. I'm going to fund my next venture on that bad boy. And we had instant company, and all of a sudden I went from 3 people to 40 people. And you never want to get over 100. 100's hard. 100 people's hard. You got to have HR at 100. And somebody was always doing something crazy. You had 100 people.
Yellow City.
Oh, Yellow City. I had one group. The guys in shipping decided to have a habanero hot sauce drinking contest. And once a day, HR would come into my office and say we had an incident, and I go, okay, what's it today? Well, we got the police and the fire trucks outside, and the ambulance outside. Not good. Did we kill anybody? That's, no, we didn't kill anybody, but we put somebody in the hospital. How do we do that? Drinking habanero hot sauce. Why? Why did we do this? But that was, it went on and on like that. That you have these, again, the highs and the lows of people going on. Hardest part of Cradlepoint was probably just managing the growth. UCEEM's too new. We're a year out. We're still having a good time. We're in that early fun stage. When the revenue starts coming, that creates a whole new set of issues. Fun. It's good issues, but fun. So. Again, I'm in the question and answer. I'll make up stories as you go along. I can give you any number of wild and crazy stories you'd like to know. But if you have direction, tell me which way you want me to go. Yeah?
Tell me about your worst funding drought.
My worst funding?
Funding drought. When you were trying to push business, but you still had to raise money and how it got in the way?
Oh, I don't like raising money.
I know, but we all have to. Tell me. Only because I'm in a funding drought, and I want to hear that somebody else has seen it through to the other end.
Don't go there. This is the way to get out of the trap. No, I've done, like I said, I've done 40 million in funding. I can tell you I made a lot of mistakes along the way, so I'm probably a little jaded and I'm going forward. First funding trap I did, I gave first right of refusal to Texas Instruments, and that I was down in Houston with Safeguard Scientific. They traded under public ticker SFE, multi-billion dollar venture fund, TI, horseshoe table, TI on one side, Safeguard Scientific on the other side, myself and Rudy in the middle trying to keep these two guys from killing each other. Because the strategic investors said, what are you doing? You're just money. And the investors are saying, you're not doing crap, you're just screwing the company. And we're in the middle saying, hey guys, we have a great opportunity. This is a $1 billion opportunity. You guys just got to get along. You learn a few things that, you got to make sure you don't paint yourself in the corner. Cradlepoint did pretty well on all the funding rounds on that. We only took money under our terms. So I had many venture companies say they need this, that, or the other, they won't fund, and I said, fine, go away. That's fine. I can live. And then I, focus on profitability, and if you're focused on profitability, you don't have to raise money. At UCEEM, we haven't raised any money yet. We're in that suffer phase, where every founder and every employee is suffering. But I think that brings out character, and you figure out who's going to make it, who's not going to make it. And as part of that, you become stronger. And then when you do come out of that phase, when the funding comes, it works. Great book by Greg Gianfonte of Right Now Technology out of Bozeman. It's called Bootstrapping to Success, I believe is the name on Amazon. You should read it. It's a really anecdotal, it's a quick read, it's not that intellectual, but that's what Greg did. He ended up taking probably 60, 80 million on Right Now, took the company public. He went after he took the company public. Greg still owns 60% of the company. He sold it to Oracle for a couple $2 billion. And my buddy Mike, who's CTO up there right now, he's something just fine. He's doing great. So funding traps.
No, I said drought.
Drought?
Not trout, yeah. But
Drought. Okay, I thought traps. She said traps. I said drought. Funding raising Boise, Idaho, almost impossible. Just bluntly, almost impossible. I did well. I raised a bunch of money out of Seattle, Portland, Salt Lake, Philadelphia. All around. So when I do end up raising money, I usually call up people that I know and I try and find people that help. There are some really good local investors. I mean, Phil Bradley's an example, one I mentioned his name here before, but Phil is just, a rock star, really solid, really good guy. And there's other groups here in town of folks that I've considered they helped. I remember I went to the first board meeting of Cradle Point after what I called an instant company, and I had all this revenue coming in, and I asked all the people to come in, my key investors, and said, come on in, and I need help. And they came in, and I remember talking to one of my investors, and I've known her a long time, and I said, I don't believe any of the numbers. This is not what you usually say at board meetings, by the way. It's not in the book that you tell your shareholders you don't believe any of the numbers that your controller is telling you. And I said I didn't believe a number. I didn't believe in one of them. And she goes, well, when do you think you're going to believe the numbers? Well, about 6 months. I think I'll believe them in 6 months. But we were growing so fast, we couldn't figure out how to account for the cash. And we were building, accounting systems as we were going, and I kept finding errors. And the worst thing you can do is report to your key people that, this is what it is. And then it's not even close. So yeah, you can find money locally, but it's really brutal. So I tend not to. If I look, I usually go out of state. And I've been fortunate that after you've done a few of these, that people take your calls.
thank you.
Yeah.
So along those same lines, you said you raise money out of state. Do you ever run into issues where someone says, hey, geez, I'd like to fund you, but I don't want to make the trip to Boise twice a month to kind of see what you're doing to keep you accountable? How do you handle that?
Yeah, I had another tier 1 buddy. I'm actually hunting on his ranch up in Montana. It's like 26 square miles of land up there. Good elk hunting. He was just like, I think I'll stay down in the Bay Area. Okay, Greg. It's usually what I say. Okay, sounds like fun. You can't convince somebody if they want to come into the mid-markets. That's a very polite way of either saying they don't believe you're making money. This is how I view it. They don't believe your story, because I can tell you one thing about investors. If they believe you're the next Instagram, they're going to throw money at you hand over fist, and they don't care if you're in Boise, Idaho, or Des Moines, Iowa. They don't care anymore. And they probably won't fly out to you, but they'll be glad to throw money in. There's plenty of people that will put money in if they truly believe that you're the next new thing. So if you don't have the next new thing, you get that one. So when I did the Cradle Point funding, I was told the story that they had already committed the cash to another company. We gave her a pitch, and they funded us within 10 days. They just left the next poor guy that they had been working with for 2 months and just set him down the road. I mean, the venture community will pick deals that make money. That's their job. And it's what they should do. So. Yeah, in the back.
What was the name of that book that you said to read?
It was Greg Giafonte, and I think it was called like Bootstrapping. It's with Right Now. Look for Greg Giafonte. He was the CEO, founder of Right Now Technology out of Bozeman, Montana.
Bootstrapping Your Startup, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, Bootstrapping Your Startup, I think is what it's called. It's a really nice book. It talks about all of the trials and tribulations, you know, of what they did. You know, I mean, how do you get marketing going? You know, how do you get leads? They were a SaaS company, so what, you know, what's your bang for your buck on your, customer acquisition costs? You know, and, you know, how do you measure it and monetize it and figure it out? And it took them a while. It took them quite a few years to figure it out, but they got it.
Thank you.
So you want me to make up a story?
Other questions, guys?
Yeah, go ahead.
Anybody?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so let me give some things. So, a few things that I think, generally speaking, as if you're young entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in general to do, I found as successful is to set your vision or what you believe in, and then hold yourself to it. So I had a series of, you know, what I called, kind of guiding principles that I set up from the very start of all the companies. So, you know, one thing, you know, how do you make decisions? You know, companies that I run, you know, I want to hear all the input, I want all the dialogue, I want all the feedback, I want everybody involved. I try to push decisions to the lowest possible level. But when it comes time to make a decision, we make a decision and we move on. We all get behind it after we make a decision. We don't go around and say, oh, this doesn't work quite right. Oh, this isn't quite right. Oh, you didn't do it right. I don't tolerate that. When we finally make a decision on what we're going to do, we go all in on it. We go all in. We bet the farm. We execute. It may turn out to be terrible. I mean, I had many mistakes. I bet on WiMAX at Clearwater. I mean, that was about a $500,000 boo-boo. But we bet on it. We thought it was a good idea. We learned a lot from it. But, you know, you have to do that. Integrity. You know, I run businesses that have the utmost integrity. You don't, you know, it's so easy. I've had people come to me and say, if you only do this, I'll buy the product. I mean, that's everything from, in Russia, just give me a little bit of bribe. If you bribe a distributor, I'll give you the, the order. And it won't ever happen. You know, go away. That's just setting you down the wrong track. You can't do that. Things that I haven't done as well with that have led to this. I'll give you all the funny anecdotal stories. I am absolutely convinced at Cradlepoint that part of my sales team traded routers for Super Bowl tickets. I am absolutely convinced they did that. I could never figure out how they did it. But I had salesmen at one of the last Super Bowls, and I know they couldn't afford it. And I am sure that I had some products switch. I found about helicopter rides to get orders. You know, they come in, 3 months late. When your expense reports are 3 months late includes a helicopter ride, you got to ask yourself what's going on. So I can give you some of the, the pieces. What other stuff have we found? This one came from Tom Watsonizer, another local entrepreneur here in town. Think globally, act globally, but, think like you're the owner. Meet the customer needs, but every employee's got to think like they're the owner of the company. If they don't, you'll see expenses go through the roof. I can remember I walked to lunch one day and walked in the alley near shipping at Cradlepoint, and I saw about $50,000 worth of power supplies that were in the trash. And it was components and power supplies, and I just came unglued. Why are we throwing away $50,000 worth of componentry? But it's a fact that, so easily as you grow, that people don't feel the ownership of the company. But when it comes down, they say, well, why don't they get bonuses, and why don't you, can do for more employees? You have to somehow instill that in the company culture that, that's their money, and that if you safeguard